So my journey, I think, probably like a lot of people, has been one where I didn't know where I was going until I got there. So I've always been fascinated by science and that curiosity, that wanting to find out about nature, not taking anyone's word for it, not reading it in a book, just you can go and you can try something out and you can see what happens. I was so excited by that idea.
Hi, my name is Zenka Caro. I'm founder of LightNet, and my passion and purpose is to make the impossible possible. I am here today with Jo Marchant. She is a speaker and an author of the New York Times bestselling book, Cure. She has a background in genetics and medical microbiology, which has led her to write books that really focus on the frontier of the mind-body connection and also our connection with the cosmos. Her books, including The Human Cosmos and Decoding the Heavens, have captivated readers worldwide. She's also appeared on New York Times, the Smithsonian, The Guardian, and more. And she really is getting people curious about what it means to be human.
What is my purpose? That's a really interesting question. I think I see it as lots of different layers, actually. I don't know if I would, there's one thing. So one purpose that I have is to tell stories. So I'm a journalist, and I'm privileged enough to be able to travel, to see incredible things, to talk to some of the most amazing and inspirational people on the planet. And I want to share that. So I want to pull together what different people are doing and tell people about what I've discovered. So that's kind of one layer of my purpose. But in terms of that message that I then want to convey to people, the biggest thing, and it's taken a while to evolve actually, because I started from a place of I am fascinated by science and what we are discovering about the world, and there's lots of different things that I want to tell people about. But the more that I've gone through my career, I've realized that one thing I think that science doesn't always get right, and I think that modern society doesn't always get right, is this split between mind and body, objective and subjective, the physical world and the mental world. Scientists will often say that only the physical world exists, to the point that they would even say that mind consciousness is an illusion. But then often you've got people on the other side saying, oh no, the physical world doesn't exist, it's all just the mind, we can just imagine, believe, whatever we want. And I truly believe that to really understand our nature and to move forwards in a positive way, we have to realize that these two things are fundamentally connected. We are bodies and we are minds. It's just looking at this, it's just looking at ourselves from different perspectives, so that we need to have a way of looking at the world and of interacting with nature that acknowledges the physical world matters, and we do need to understand how things work, and there are going to be limits to what we can do. We can't heal ourselves from everything. We can't magically get out of the climate crisis. We need to understand physically how our world works. But on the other hand, we are more than just bodies, and we are connected to the rest of life, I think, in quite a spiritual way. And if we treat nature as just a physical resource to exploit, and we're not in tune with those more sort of emotional and spiritual connections, then I think disaster lies that way as well. So I think my purpose has become in different ways. I've written about the mind-body link in health. I've written about our relationship with the stars. At the moment, I'm writing about the nature of the present moment. And I think what ties all of those together is how can we bring mind and body together and understand that our nature is this beautiful interconnected system. So my journey, I think, probably like a lot of people, has been one where I didn't know where I was going until I got there. So I've always been fascinated by science and that curiosity, that wanting to find out about nature, not taking anyone's word for it, not reading it in a book, just you can go and you can try something out and you can see what happens. I was so excited by that idea as a child and as a student. But I've also studied a lot of martial arts in my life. I used to teach jiu-jitsu a long time ago, and I think maybe being exposed to that Eastern philosophy was perhaps an early sort of realization that there are different ways of thinking about the world. So perhaps and I've always been drawn as well to things in science that don't make sense. Those little things that everyone tends to dismiss because they don't really understand them, like the placebo effect, for example. For me, I'm like, well, that's really interesting. Like, why does that work? When does that work? Does that work for everything? Is it going to work for me? Or hypnosis is another one of those things that some people are like, oh, it's a bit quirky. We don't really understand what's going on. For me, I was like, I think that when something doesn't make sense, it's a sign that we might have got something quite fundamentally wrong in how we're sort of understanding the world. So there are these doorways into something that could be so much more fundamental. And I realized that a lot of the things I was interested in, so the placebo effect, hypnosis, I did a feature article on mindfulness meditation and its use for treating depression and anxiety. I was like, wait, all of these have this theme of they're all to do with the mind and its effect on our physical health. So that's what kind of got me into that book, and realizing the deep connections between mind and body that I think conventional science and medicine has often ignored. And that I still feel that the scientific method is important. We need to test our treatments, but we need to just have a more open-minded idea, I think, of what we are going to be able to study in science. And that is really happening now. There are just fascinating techniques for doing that. Yeah, and then everything I've written since, whether I was looking at our relationship with the stars, whether I'm looking at the present moment, it always seems to come back to that. What is reality? What is our relationship, with each other and with our surroundings? And so I suppose that's given me the quest that I'm still on. Do I feel that having a purpose affects the people around me? Yeah, absolutely, I do. I mean, the first people that come to mind when you ask me that question is my children, because I want them to see that. I don't want them to grow up and see people who are just sitting around at home, or, I want them to see people, and I believe that it's the same with their father, people who are passionate about what they do and they know why they're doing it, and you can go and you can experience amazing things, talk to amazing people, achieve change. I think it does sort of ripple out, I hope, to the people around you. I'm certainly sort of feeling the benefits of that here, being surrounded by a lot of people who have these incredible missions. And if it's okay, I would just like to mention that there is quite a lot of research on the importance of meaning and purpose in physical health. One of the biggest causes of disease and disability throughout our lives, as all of us know, is chronic stress. All of the sort of fight and flight responses being switched on all the time, wear and tear on our tissues, linked with pretty much every chronic disease that you care to name. And having meaning, having purpose is one of those things that pops up again and again as what scientists call a biological shield. So there are different biological shields. Social connection is a really important biological shield, but meaning is also really important. That's been shown all the way down to levels of gene expression in people's white blood cells, so the cells of their immune system actually being pushed away from inflammation and towards anti-tumor and antiviral responses in people who have a sort of greater meaning, a greater purpose. And the rationale behind that, we think, is that, again, it's similar to what I was saying with awe. If you're focused on a greater mission, a greater purpose, it's something that is beyond you. So you're not focused on your own sort of physical well-being. So you don't have that sort of stress. The body's not preparing for sort of physical damage. It's not triggering the inflammation. It's not constricting the blood vessels, which puts pressure on the heart. You're focused beyond you. So that personal selfish stress kind of melts away, and you're passionate about this bigger picture. It's something that will live on beyond you, that is important regardless of all these small things that happen to you. And that seems to be a very powerful thing in terms of people's physical and emotional health. If someone is feeling a bit lost and they don't feel like they have a purpose, the main thing I would say is stop looking for it inside yourself. The absolute key that we see in all of the research is when you shift your focus away from yourself. So it's not about you, it's about other people. What can you do to help? We see this in social connection and the research of that as well, that to build social connections, you have to stop thinking about what you're going to get from a social interaction and start thinking about what you can give to that interaction. So if you start small and just think, where can I help? What can I do? It doesn't have to be an immediate mission straight away, but just those small little actions of focusing away from yourself, looking at where can you actually help someone else, give something to an interaction. I think that the mission and the purpose will follow from there.
At the Holo Movement Purpose Lab, over the course of our 2 years of research and counting, we've discovered that purpose isn't a mystery, it's a map. You can find out where you are in the 7-stage process and make it a lot easier to take that very next step. You can go to ourlightnet.org/purpose quiz to take the 2-minute quiz to see where you land and where you're going.